This program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
We now return to the actors.
Well, you mentioned Wyatt Earp in there.
Right.
And I've read somewhere that you said that it was the one of the most challenging roles that you ever faced. But then I read somewhere else that you'd said that you just hated making the film.
Well, neither one of those statements are true, and
No?
I don't know where you read that, but I think that, you know, it's the horror of an actor that these kind of statements get out there for some reason or another. I think that it certainly was not a challenging role by any stretch of the imagination. It was an interesting idea, historically, playing Virgil Earp, having actually been alive and did the things that Virgil did, originally sounded like a very tremendously interesting part to play, and something that was very close to my heart. However, the doing of it didn't live up to the idea that I thought that it might have started out to be. And I think that had to do with there being too much information and too many characters, perhaps, and Larry Kasdan perhaps being overwhelmed by a production of that size. And Larry's a very dear man, and I don't hold animosity toward him. I just think that there are things that could have been done differently, put it that way.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you involved with that project?
About 2 months.
2 months. So I believe I read somewhere, and again, you're telling me that some of the things that I've read aren't correct. So if I am mistaken, please correct me.
Mm-hmm.
But I read somewhere that working on Wyatt Earp, you were in rehearsals for it, and it prevented you from working on another picture that was coming up.
Well, that's true. I'm sure that you're about to talk about Pulp Fiction, and
yeah.
the truth is that I was in rehearsals for Wyatt Earp, and I would have been able to do both pictures had Larry Kasdan allowed me out of the rehearsal period for Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on it, all I can say is I don't understand the rehearsal period for Wyatt, because it was a giant waste of time on everyone's part, and it was incredibly self-indulgent, and it really didn't. I don't think anyone's performance would have been different had they not gone through the rehearsal period.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I don't know how much more honest I can be about it. In fact, you know, if I had done Pulp Fiction, I most likely wouldn't be doing the Vega Brothers, which is a story of Vic Vega and Vincent Vega.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be able to do that picture unless I was playing my own brother. So I think that things have a way of evolving into something else that one may not realize at the particular time of the genesis of what's thought of as a negative.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's been a lot of talk that I've read and some things that I've heard about the Vega Brothers for a while, but is that actually going to happen?
Well, I think that would be a better question for Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is I do believe it is going to happen. I believe it will happen somewhere down the line, but I'm pretty busy right now with, Quentin's very busy right now with Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, when that's finished, I guess we'll get after the Vega Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Are you, you're working on Kill Bill right now along with him?
Well, Kill Bill is in pre-production. I have
Okay.
a Western that I have to go do in Mexico first,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I'm finished with that, I start Kill Bill sometime in August.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit about your character in that and what we might expect?
Well, I'm Bill's brother, Bill's younger brother, and it's a story of revenge. It's a female revenge picture. However, it would be impossible for me to describe it or tell you the scope or the scale of it. I can only tell you that it's been going on in Quentin's mind for all the time that he's been writing it, and he's come up with something that is beyond even my imagination. It's very tremendously interesting, and it involves a lot of ideas from a lot of different stories and movies coming together into one particular interpretation.
So when will you be working on that? When will photography be commencing with that project?
Well, they'll be started before I am, because
Okay.
I'm in Mexico. My part of it begins in mid-August.
Wonderful. Now you've had this will be kind of a continuation and part of a bigger relationship that you've had with Quentin.
Right?
Can you tell us more about that? As there seems to be very much a spirit of collaboration between the two of you in the way that that you talk about this.
Well, I mean, I think that the two of us think alike about a lot of things, and I think that we spent some time reevaluating our friendship and our relationship together, and was able to come up with a scenario that we could both work with. You know, these things happen. It's a process that you have to go through. It's a long. You know, there's a silly thing that I read one time on the wall. It said that success has nothing to do with the destination. It's about the journey. And I mean, it may be corny, but it's true.
Are those kinds of relationships, working relationships, collaborations? Is that something that I mean, aside from working with Quentin Tarantino, is that something that that you value? I've noticed, for example, working with Chris Penn. You've done it many times.
Well, Chris Penn is a good friend of mine. He's an interesting guy, a good actor. If you ever want to see a great Chris Penn picture, you should watch a movie called The Florentine.
Mm.
Not many folks have seen it, and it didn't really get a release that it deserved.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
you
really
were,
it's
you
a
were in
great-
that with your
a
sister
great
as well,
performance
no?
by Chris Penn. He did a fine job on that. I think collaboration and the thing you're asking me for is extremely important. However, it's very hard to come by.
Mm.
You know? I mean, you know, if I portray a character in a movie that does a certain thing that's admirable, you know, you try to do that in real life, man, and you'll go to jail for it, you know? So what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of those relationships where you have collaboration, you've also, I know that your sister worked on 2 films. She worked on The Florentine and, gosh, there was another one, Nightingale, something of the Nightingale.
Ballad
Yeah.
of the Nightingale.
All
Yeah,
right.
I did another one with her called Blue Tiger.
Okay.
We had one scene in Blue Tiger where I sell her a gun in a pawn shop, and in Ballad of the Nightingale, I have a scene with her in a bar, and I don't know, I never figured out what it was. And a very disjointed picture, very strange collaboration. And The Florentine was good because she actually played my sister, so we actually played brother and sister in the movie. So, you know, there wasn't a great deal of homework that had to be done.
Well, that was a part of my
We had
next
a lot of
my
fun
next
with that.
thought.
I
was,
enjoyed that.
I wonder how difficult it is, or rather how easy it is, to work with somebody that you know on a personal basis, as closely as you would know somebody like a sister.
Sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes it's really, really very difficult. You know, the familiarity sometimes is hard. I just did the Bond picture, okay? I just came back from London. I just did Bond 20.
Mm-hmm.
I played a CIA guy. The reason I bring it up is because Pierce Brosnan is a good friend of mine. And there definitely is a difference in playing with someone that you're very familiar with. I mean, it changes up everything. And, you know, talking about Rays from Space and Armageddon and things in the nature of a Bond picture was exciting and fun, but yet I was playing the scenes with a guy who I'm personal friends with, and he lives right down the block from me. And so it's a little bit harder. You really have to go to some sort of an intellectual place where you bring yourself out of, you know, your familiarity with somebody, you know, and try to make it about the story.